clear skies, everyone. Um, I have privilege to talk today to Dave Falkner. Falkner. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good. So, Dave, where are you in this moment?
So I reside in Blaine, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis, a northern suburb of Minneapolis,
Mhm.
and I've lived here now for over 30 years. So
Okay.
uh,
Um,
kind of a
and
transplant because I wasn't born and raised here. I was born and raised in Indianapolis, and I was in the Navy for 20 years, and so I moved around, and I wound up in the Twin Cities at the end.
oh, I see. I see. So, why you are astronomer? What is your story?
So my story starts back when I was a teenager, and my father took me to a show in Indianapolis at a place called the Holcomb Planetarium, and I was just captivated by the show that was given there at the planetarium, and really wanted to learn a lot more. And so I just, kind of fell in love with the sky with that. And of course, I was raised during the time of the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs.
Mhm.
The manned space programs that were in the 1960s and 70s. And so it really kept my interest in space and space exploration and in astronomy. And I happened to inherit from a great uncle I never knew an old telescope. And I actually ground a 6-inch mirror for that
Wow.
using Edmund Scientific. Yeah, Edmund Scientific Company had these mirror grinding kits, and so I was able to grind the mirror and polish it, and then get it coated. And that was my first telescope.
You don't hear story like this anymore. It used to be, those grinding kids. Wow, but you are one of those
Oh yeah, if you wanted
guys.
a telescope, yeah, if you wanted a telescope, what you couldn't buy one; it was too expensive. You had to make one, and this was one of those telescopes. It had stovepipe for the tube, and it had pipe fittings for the mount, and it was quite the telescope. Weighed a ton. So, but it worked. So that was my first telescope.
And it was actually before Mr. Dobson invented his mount, right?
Who?
Well, now you have simple telescope. You would have Dobson mount, Dobson telescope, and this was
Oh,
before.
Dobson. Oh, no, 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 no. It was long before that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, long before that. No, it was actually, I guess you'd call it an equatorial mount,
yeah,
uh,
which
because that
is
was a
which is
common
good,
mount.
but kind
Yeah.
of complicated.
Yeah, no, this is kind of complicated. Yep, back then for sure.
Wow. So you had
So, and I think we have a little delay here. So,
yes, yes. I feel well. We will see how it will go. So right now you are in Twin Cities, actually more on that Minneapolis side, and you are a member of Minnesota Astronomical Society. And my understanding
correct.
you that you know something about the beginning of Minnesota Astronomical Society. What is the story?
So the Minnesota Astronomical Society has been around for over 50 years. It originally started in the early 70s as the Twin Cities Astronomy Club, and it was primarily 3M people who started the club. And then it became the Minnesota Astronomical Society, and in 1980 they incorporated, and so that's when truly became the Minnesota Astronomical Society. And it's been growing ever since. We have added sites over the years. We started out with a site south of the cities, about 20 minutes south of Cannon Falls. It's Cherry Grove, and the Cherry Grove site, we've got we actually own that land, and the warming house was actually provided to us from the old 3M site that they had for observing. But we also we have a rather nice outreach facility on the west side of town in the Baylor Regional Park, which we call Eagle Lake Observatory. We have two observatories there and a classroom and a number of telescopes. And we have another facility east of town in what's called the Bellwood Conservancy. And we have a telescope there, a large refractor there, a 10-inch refractor at that facility. And then near that same facility is a field called Metcalf Field that we use a lot for outreach for beginners. And so we have a beginner special interest group that meets once a month at the Metcalf Field, and people can bring their telescopes and learn about using a telescope and moving around the night sky. And then our dark sky site is actually north, about 2 hours and 15 minutes north of the cities. It's at the Long Lake Conservation Center, which is between McGregor and Palisade, Minnesota. And it's a very dark sky site. There's nothing around it. It's a nice facility. So we use that as our dark sky site. Now we have a couple of big telescopes up there. We have a 25-inch Dob and a 30-inch Dob up there. So,
I mean,
we've been really blessed. I was going to say that we've really been blessed as a society in that the almost all of the telescopes that we have were donated. So it's the cost for us is really just the maintenance of the facilities that we have.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear basically we can track back into 80s. So Minnesota Astronomical Society is sort of 50 years old, half century. Is it true? And my
Yes.
understanding is that right now in this moment you have about 700 members, or probably, right?
It fluctuates, but I'd say it runs between 650 and 700 members. Yeah. So
which is amazing. This is amazing because yes, you are in Twin Cities is a few million people, but still, it's how it happened that you are able to have such numbers.
I really attribute that to our outreach program. We do a lot of outreach, and more than so Eagle Lake Observatory, we have public star parties there that are free of charge to the public, roughly every 2 weeks from March through November. But we also do a lot of outreach at other festivals. We take outreach requests for Cub Scouts or other groups, and so we reach out into the community as well. We have tables at festivals and like. So we really we kind of advertise by being at these various events as well as doing the private events. And I think over time that has gotten the word out. People know about the Minnesota Astronomical Society, and a lot of them like to join. So,
which is wonderful, and I believe that outreach is really very, very important goal of all clubs or societies. But probably you didn't have 700 people 50 years ago, and I am interested how it happened, because if you have facilities and you have track records and everything, it's easier for donors to donate you telescope and maybe other stuff. But you didn't have that 50 years ago. what was the engine?
It
How
was,
to
it
grow?
was, I think, first of all, it was gradual. Okay, so we didn't have all the facilities all at once. They kind of grew gradually, um, as our numbers grew.
Mhm,
Um, and then uh, we um, we have our monthly meeting that we have had since the beginning that kind of invites people. You don't have to be a member to come to the meeting. And we have speakers there from the University of Minnesota and the like. And so, that's kind of a draw too. People like to
mhm,
see that.
mhm,
But I think it was, I guess I call it organic. It was just gradual, and we grew as we had the ability to grow, and the opportunities came up for us. We did do so Eagle Lake Observatory really started out as us going out to Baylor Regional Park, which is where it's located, and just doing an outreach out there with our personal telescopes
mhm,
originally.
mhm.
And then Baylor Regional Park invited us to, if you wanted to build a facility out here, we'd support that. And so they provided the land, and we built the buildings and put the equipment out there. And so and that was also true with the observatory on the east side. The Bellwood Conservancy does a lot of outreach, particularly with the St. Paul Public Schools. And so they supported us building the observatory out there. And we included in that some a solar telescope so that
Mhm,
kids
mhm.
could come during the day and be able to view the sun during the day. So that kind of supported their outreach as well. And they do have some evening events out there once in a while, but that's I think the St. Paul Public Schools probably use the telescopes as much as we do. Um, like I said, Cherry Grove is mainly for the members, but it's a nice, fairly dark site for people to go down and do
Mhm.
observing and do imaging. And then we actually put together a committee to seek out a dark sky site. And we looked at various locations in northern Minnesota where we knew it was dark and happened across the Longway Conservation Center and struck up a conversation with them. And we were able to secure our dark sky site with them up there in cooperation with them. So all this kind of happened gradually over the 50 years and growing. And to support those sites, of course, we did have telescope donations, which were obviously very nice to have, so that we didn't have to spend the money on the telescopes. We could spend money on building structures and the like.
So what I hear basically there is no any special secret or something like that. Just keep going, do that good work, right? Um,
Right, right.
except
Just
except
keep plugging away at it and keep growing. And as a matter of fact, so just to continue that a little bit, we currently have um I won't say agreement, a cooperation
Mhm,
with a site that's just north of the Twin Cities up in East Bethel, and it's a University of Minnesota
mhm,
facility up there. It's called the Cedar Creek Ecosystem Science Reserve, and they have over 1,000 acres up there. And so we do star parties. They actually schedule them, but we support them in
mhm.
having star parties up there as well. We have maybe I want to say about 10 star parties a year up there as well. So we're kind of cultivating that relationship as well. And so this is kind of what we do. We find good places, people who are willing to work with us and cooperate, and then we can do star parties and continue our outreach that way.
So except outreach, do you do or your members citizen science?
Both. We have mainly it's outreach. Our members will go out. We'll set up telescopes and show people the sky and tell them what they're looking at. In
Mhm,
some cases, we do presentations on various subjects. But we also have a few people in the club who actually do citizen science. I know we have one member, for instance, who uh, uh, does uh, photometry of asteroids asteroids to try and determine how fast they spin and the like. So, um, and we have there aren't very many, maybe two or three members who contribute to citizen science in some way.
Okay. Which is understandable. You need to have a little bit different mindset and maybe some scientific background or something, and really
Yeah,
publish it and so on. So
I think the thing to remember about astronomy is that there's many different types of astronomy. You've got the people who like to take the telescope out and look through a telescope and observe directly. There are people who like to do imaging and they go out and they do their imaging and then they process the images. There are armchair astronomers who like looking through the research that's been done and learning about what's been discovered by some of the big telescopes around the world, for instance. There's those who are interested in space exploration and follow NASA closely and all that. And there's something for everybody, in the club. And so, I don't think that you can just say, well, if you're a member of the Minnesota Astronomical Society, then you do this. No, there's a lot of different things you can do.
okay. Uh, the map behind me is huge. Our north central region is actually huge. Uh, do you connect with some other clubs either in Minnesota or other states?
Not a whole lot. We have done some cooperative things with the Rochester Club. Cherry Grove is about midway between the Twin Cities and Rochester. We have gotten together once in a while for a combined star party there at Cherry Grove. But for the most part, not really. We just um, other than connecting with people at the Alcons or the NCRL conferences. But we have members who have come from other clubs who still have a connection with them. So we have one member, for instance, who came from Chicago and was part of the Chicago Astronomical Club, and he still has connections there. And we have another member who came from Cedar Rapids, Northeast Iowa Club, and
Wow.
she still maintains connections there. So on an individual basis, we may keep connections with other clubs, but club to club, not so much.
Okay. Well, it was great to talk to you, Dave. I am sure that I will see you again in conference or something like that. Thank you very much.
No doubt. No doubt. Have a great day.
Thank you.